Welcome. My name is Michelle Booth, and this is a webinar from Canada Learning Code 150, Canada Learning Code Week, and this is going to be Wildlife Soundscapes. We're going to begin by getting the Scratch program that we need. So if you are a person from Waterloo Catholic District School Board, then we have set up on our D2L site a spot for you to get your Scratch program. I'm just going to show you where that is. And so you can get that right here. You'll see that there is the template. You can also just simply do a search for Scratch. Go to the Scratch website. Scratch is not a tool that is a Waterloo Catholic tool. It is also not a tool of the Ministry of Education in Ontario. So we're not requiring you at all to do any sign up for accounts. This is a red app. So we want to be safe about using it. And what we can do is just simply do a search for teachers learning code, and there's no spaces. Again, this template was provided in D2L, but you can also get it here. And when I do a search, I come up with all of the starter projects that Canada Learning Codes has provided within the lessons for teachers. And I'm looking for this one down here. I'm going to click on it, and it opens. It gives you some details about it. So really what we're doing is we're going to have a backdrop of daytime and nighttime with different animals that you might have in Canada. And we are going to take a look inside. And inside, some sprites and some backdrops and some sounds have already been provided for us by Canada Learn Codes. So we don't have to do everything right from the beginning. We can actually use the one that's there. We will not be using an account to be on the safest side. So we're not going to do remix. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to choose File and choose Download to your computer. And then you can choose where you would like to put this. So I've done this a couple times, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace the original one. And I'm going to give you some time right now to get the Scratch program if you would like to follow along and do the steps. And if you don't want to follow along and do the steps, then you can just watch. But if you want to follow along on your Chromebook or other device, go ahead and do the save. It will save to your Google Drive. And while we're doing that, we're just going to watch part of a video on wolves in the ecosystem. And that's to give us some context here. This is really around wildlife, and we want to think of wildlife as part of an ecosystem where we have a food chain, a food web, we have animals interacting with each other, and they have an importance all together. So let's go ahead and we will just watch part of the video. Again, this video was provided as part of the lesson from Canada Learn Codes. Okay, we'll pause the video there. And a couple of interesting things about this is it's taking place in Yellowstone Park in the US. And actually the wolves that they brought in that were reintroduced were actually from Canada. The other thing that is, of course, relevant is that this would apply in Canada also. We also have some of the similar animals, and the video is showing how animals are connected with one another, and that you maybe have producers such as the plant life along the river, and you have consumers and different levels of consumers such as the wolves and the deer. So we're going to go back now to where we have Scratch, and I'm hoping at this point you've had a chance to download the starter sample of Scratch. Now, Scratch program is made up of sprites. In this case, we have various animals, and for the most part, these have no blocks of code. For some reason, the bear one comes with a starter one. I'm just going to drag that off because I don't believe we'll need it. And it also comes with a stage. The stage comes with no scripts. It comes with two backdrops. We have a daytime scene and we have a nighttime scene. Our plan is that we're going to run through the daytime and have certain animals there, and we're going to then switch over to night and have certain animals there during the nighttime. We will also be able to click on any of the animals to hear their sounds. Now that's a lot of stuff to do. We're going to break this problem down into steps and test each step out as we go. That's a good practice for anyone in computer science. Break down a problem and test out the problem as you go along. Okay, now one issue that we have with the sounds, and I'm just going to click over onto the sounds, is the daytime sound. Kind of sounds like some birds, maybe a loon, maybe some insects, a light breeze in the grass, but it's rather long. So what we can do is we can crop that. So what I'm going to do is just go all the way to the end, and I can drag and select and just kind of push it forward all the way to the beginning. The reason that we're going to do a bit of cropping or editing is because it's 2 minutes long. When we're doing any testing, we would have to wait 2 minutes for each one. We don't want to do that. It's way too long. So instead, what we'll do is we'll go and just take off a good chunk of it. So maybe it's only maybe 30 seconds or something like that. So I'm just going to have it go all the way to the beginning, and we're almost there. And there we go. And then I'm just going to move my mouse and just drag back, so highlighting backwards, so that I still have some of it and maybe go a little bit off the screen. There we go. And under Edit, we have the option to cut. Okay, that's done. Now when we scroll off the screen, we only have a little bit. Perfect. We'll repeat that process for nighttime. So click on the night option, and we're going to go all the way to the end, and we'll just click and drag all the way so that we select the whole sound. And again, this is for testing purposes. This one is a little bit more than 1.5 minutes, but when we are going through and testing and switching between day and night, we absolutely do not want to have it go for that long, because we certainly don't want to wait for that when we're doing testing. This is a very common practice when you're doing testing, that you can maybe shorten part of it so that you could just make the practice go faster. And although the backdrop and sounds are provided, you could come up with your own if you wanted to. So for this one, I'm going to kind of repeat the same thing. I'm going to go and have a bunch of the sounds, but I know that some of these bigger waves here, if I just go a little bit further, we'd like to get a few of these too. So there we go. And again, edit, and we're going to cut. Now let's just go all the way to the beginning and click, and we'll play the sound so we can kind of hear this. Sounds kind of like crickets, maybe a breeze in the trees, or a little bit of howling wind, and maybe an owl hooting. Okay, that's perfect. So that was just a little edit on the template to make our testing a little bit better. Let's go back to the script. We said what we want to have happen is we want to be able to switch between day and night. And we also want to have certain sounds played during the day and other sounds played during the night. So typically when we start a Scratch program, we would click on the green flag. Let's begin with that. That's an event. When we click on the green flag, we want it to be day. Day is a look. So we're going to go to looks and we're going to choose the one that says switch backdrop to, and we don't want it to be night. We actually want it to be day. Let's test that out. Remember, break down a problem into smaller parts always, and then test each part. Awesome. Daytime shows when we click on the green flag. When it's daytime, we would like daytime sounds. So let's go to the sounds option, and we want to play the, not nighttime sounds, but we actually want to play daytime sounds. There we go. And it's playing right now because I clicked on the block, but let's click on the flag and have it play. Looking good, sounding good, everything is great. Now we want to be able to switch now between daytime and nighttime. In order to do that, we have to tell other parts of the program that, okay, it's now the end of day and it's now nighttime. In Scratch, that is known as broadcasting a message. So I went to events and I looked for the block that says broadcast, and we actually want to make a new message, and we're going to call that switch to night. And okay. Okay, so that one is a bit tricky to test because we have no idea if there was a message given out as broadcast to night, switch to night. So it will be easier if we add another block, and that one's also under events, when it says, when you get the message, that it's switched to night, then we're ready to make it look like night and make it sound like night. And we would want to use the look block and we would want to use the sound block. So let's start with the look block. And we're switching the backdrop to night. So the default is perfect. And remember, any problems can be broken down into smaller problems. And let's go ahead and click on the flag. It's daytime. It looks like daytime. It sounds like daytime. And remember, this goes for a while, and then perfect, we have nighttime. Okay, we're not hearing nighttime though, so that part we still have to add. And that one there is play sound night until done. Now we're not going to do any more with this part in terms of daytime and nighttime, but you could probably add more code if you wanted it to continue and be daytime and nighttime and then back to daytime and then back to nighttime and continue having that go over and over. I'm going to leave that if that's something you want to do. And we are just going to test it out so that we can hear nighttime. So we got daytime, sounds like nighttime. Sorry, sounds like daytime. And that's going to go for a few seconds. And now we have nighttime, hearing crickets. Beautiful. Okay, so we're done testing that part, and that part is working as the lesson outlines. What we're going to do next is we're going to put in a sound into each one of the sprites. So if I click on the caribou, I want there to be a sound for the caribou. If I click on the wolf, I want there to be a sound for the wolf. So we'll begin with the caribou. And it is an event that we want. And what we're looking for is when we click on this sprite. So when we click on the caribou, what do we want to have happen? We would like it to be the caribou sound that plays. And we're going to do the same kind of thing for the owl. So when we click on the owl or click on the sprite, we want there to be a sound that is the owl. Let's move to the next owl. Now these are two owls that seem to be just a little bit different looking, but they're really the same. So it's going to be the same code that we're going to put there. We're going to want the play the owl sound. And we said we wanted to have that event that was when we click on the sprite. And we're just going to put those two blocks together. They have to be together for that to work. All right, now we should really be testing this out. Again, whenever we have a larger problem, we're going to be repeating this for every one of the sprites, but we don't want to wait till we get to the end and then wonder where the problem is. So always try and break down the problem into smaller problems and do some testing in between. So let's go ahead and click on the flag. And we should be able to click on the caribou. And we should click on an owl. This is when we click on a wolf or a bear. Nothing happens on those ones yet because we don't have any code for those ones. So let's go ahead and add the code. You got it. If we click on the snake, we're adding an event. When you click on the sprite, we want to add the sound for the snake. And one great trick about Scratch is that we can actually take code that we have and we can copy it to other sprites. So this one here, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it over to the other snake's sprite. And now when I click on that sprite, you'll notice that the code is there. I'm going to repeat that and put that in for the bear. So now when I click on the bear has the code there. It's not the right code though. We need to switch it so it doesn't say snake, but it actually says bear. And we can do the same thing for the wolf. And if I click on the wolf, I can see that we've got, when I click on the sprite, but we want to change it so that it's the wolf howl. And we've got one last one to do, and that's for the raccoon. And so now when I click on the raccoon, I should see the code blocks, and I'm just going to change those so that we have raccoon. Awesome. Let's test it out. So we're going to go ahead and click on the flag. Daytime. Awesome, the bear is working. What about a snake? Okay, what about a caribou? And what about a raccoon? Okay, looking good, looking good. Okay, so I didn't test all of them, but that would be a good practice also, that you want to test every aspect of your program as you're going along. Don't make assumptions that things are correct. Okay, now some of these animals, like the owl, are only out at nighttime, and other owls, like the bear, tend to be out during the day. So let's go ahead and let's begin with the bear. So I need to click on the bear down here. So I select that sprite, and I know that I have the bear because in the top right-hand corner it shows the bear. And we're going to add some more code so that when it's daytime, I'm going to show it the bear, and when it's nighttime, I'm going to hide the bear. So this would be an event. And we're going to use when backdrop switches to night, we would like to hide the bear. And let's go back. And when backdrop switches to day, if we can click on the arrow, there we go. Boop. Let's just go back here. When backdrop switches to day, we want to go to looks and we want to show. Let's test that out. And the one that we are worried about here is the bear. So it's daytime. I see the bear. And it's nighttime and I don't see the bear. Perfect. Now let's move on to another animal that would be around during the day, and we'll repeat that same code. So a wolf would be another one that would be around during the day, and that could be something that you research. And we're going to use the show and the hide. So I'm just going to pull those out. And then we're going to go to the event, and the one that we wanted was around the backdrop. So I'm going to put one here and then I'll just move those. And I want another one over here. And what I'll do is I'll just drag those underneath. And let's just make sure that we have them right. When it is night, no, we need to switch that because this is the wolf, and the wolf is going to be around during the day. We're going to show, and when it is night, then we're going to hide. Makes sense. Let's test it out. Daytime, we're seeing the bear, we're seeing the wolf. And they're gone. Okay, I noticed one mistake I made. We're on the wolf right now, but actually the wolf would be the opposite. So I'm just going to switch that around. The wolf would be shown during the night and we'd be hidden during the day. So that's not one that we want to do. Let's go back and say we did the bear. The caribou is another one that would be around during the day. So we're going to repeat the same steps. Let's just pull two of those out because we know we're going to use them. And this is going to be, one's going to be during the day and one's going to be during the night. And we are going to show, this is for the caribou during the day, and we are going to hide the caribou at night. Let's test that out. Daytime, look, no wolf, so we know we've done that part, right? And we're going to switch over to nighttime soon. And there we are, nighttime. Awesome. And the wolf reappeared. And so we have done the code for the caribou, and we did the code for the bear. Those are ones that we're showing, we're hiding at night and we're showing during the day. But for example, like the wolf and the raccoon and the owls and the snakes, we're going to have all of those ones hide during the day and show at night. So for the wolf, we've already done the code where we said that we want to show at night. So what we can do is we can select that code or click on that code, and we can drag that code to the owl, and we can drag that code to the other owl, and we can drag it to the first snake, and we can drag it to the second snake, and then we can drag it to the raccoon. And we've already done it for the wolf. Let's check. So owl, there it is. And I'm just going to move it down. And owl 2. And I'm just going to move it down because when we drag the code in, it's going to go to the top. And do the same thing. There's the snake. And I'll just move the other one down because, again, when you drag it in, it goes to the top left. And the raccoon, I'm just going to move them both down. Perfect. Okay, so that's our first part, and we can check that if we want to. So it's daytime, and we have some animals showing during the daytime, but look, some of them are showing, like the owls and the raccoon and the snakes, and they should really be hidden. That part looks better. Perfect. We have our bear and our caribou hiding during the nighttime. Okay, so one that we did correctly already was the wolf. So if we go back to the wolf, for the wolf, we have the wolf showing at nighttime. And we have the wolf hiding during the day. But if we look at the owl, what's missing for the owl is the hiding part. I'm going to go back now to the wolf, and all the ones that are hiding, I'm just going to copy those over to each of the sprites. So we're going to copy it over to the owl, and the other owl, and the snake, and the other snake, and finally the raccoon. And then let's just click on each one and make sure that that happened. So it looks good for the raccoon. The raccoon we have hide during the day and show at night. And we already tested the wolf, so we know the wolf works. And we have the snake, hide during the day, show at night. The other snake, done. The owl, hide during the day, show at night. That makes sense for the owl. And finally, we have the first owl. Okay, I think we're ready to test, and our whole program should now work. So it's daytime, We're seeing two animals. Let's listen to the bear. I like it. What about the caribou? Also working. Okay, I think nighttime's coming up soon. Perfect. Now certain animals disappeared. Let's listen to the raccoon. And we also have some snakes. And what about an owl? Awesome. Okay, so we are now done our program and we are ready to save our program. We don't have an account with Scratch, so what we're going to do is simply put in a different name here. So I'm going to call this final or done or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to download to the computer. Mine's going to save on my desktop, but you can go ahead and save it on if you're using a Chromebook on your Google Drive. And I've done this before, so I'm just replacing. And I am now done my program. A fantastic job with this program using sounds, using different images, using broadcast. And we also use some computer science thinking or computational thinking where we took a big problem and we broke it down into some smaller programs or problems, and we did some testing in between. So I hope you enjoyed our webinar on wildlife soundscapes, and I hope you'll enjoy us on the other, you will join us on the other days that we have planned for Canada Learning Code 150.